Okay, so we are going to start with Premiere. We're going to go open up a project, and we're now in Chapter 6. So I'm going to go to my desktop here. We're going to go into my Premiere Lessons folder. I'm going to go into 6 and open up 6.1. And we're going to be working with the same video we were working with before, adding some transitions and kind of editing some transitions as well. So if you look at 6.1, we've got, let's see, we got you got 3 video clips. We've got a Photoshop file, and that's about it on this one. So we're pretty light here. We want to go to Window and then go to Workspace, and then we want to go over to the Effects. And what you'll notice is the Project panel also has an Effects tab over here, and then when up in where the source monitor was, now we have an Effects control panel or palette as well. If anytime you're in the Workspace mode, you've got these pieces that you can actually change the workspace environment so that it'll give you the palettes that are most closely associated with what you're trying to do. So if I'm going to be working with an audio piece, I would go here, and it would give me all the mostly all the audio editing tools, color correction. You get the picture. Effects and editing are probably the two that you're going to use the most. So we're in the effects, in the effects, but keep in mind it didn't matter where we started. I could always just go to the window menu and just open up these palettes as I wanted to, as I needed them, and move them around where I need to. Okay, so we got 3 video clips here and a Photoshop file. What we're going to do is we're going to lay these things out, drag the 3 video clips from the project panel to the video 1 track. So we're going to grab that one, and we're going to shift click to select all 3 video clips, and we're going to drag them right to the video 1 panel. And what you'll notice is they'll lay out sequentially in the way they're listed in the project palette. We've got audio tracks in here too as well. The thing I want you to see, and I want to kind of, let's zoom in here, and I'll do it through Camtasia as well, but as you'll notice, each of these in between each of these, you've got your definite cut line. That shouldn't look too, it should look familiar to you because we've used cut lines on the previous section. But in between each clip, you see this little triangle that shows up, and I'll zoom in on Camtasia for you just to see. These are what's called, a very important piece to transitions. These are what are called handles. You've got, any time that you pull a video clip in and it's in its entirety, you've got these little handles that appear. And these handles are going to be drastically important for what we're going to do in terms of creating transitions in between. Most transitions are created by taking video from the first video clip and combining it in some way with the second video clip. So in order to do that, you're going to need some video time at either the beginning or the end of each of these video clips. So we're going to have to edit this a little bit to make sure that we have enough on there. Or we're going to preset these video clips so that we can use transitions. So make sure you're in between the first and the second video clip. And what I want to do is take the ripple, we're going to grab the ripple tool, the ripple edit tool. And wouldn't you know it, the effects palette has turned off my tools. So I'm going to go into Window and go to Tools. There's my tool palette right there. I'm going to slide this over here. I want to grab the ripple edit tool. And again, this just saves time so they don't have to get rid of those ripple edits. What I want to do is drag within the timeline. I'm going to go ahead and drag the back end of this video clip in about 30 seconds in. Give it 30, I'm looking at 30:09 right there. And again, I'm looking at this time right here. So I just cut the first clip by about 30 seconds. What I'm also going to do is drag the beginning of the second clip and cut that for about 30 seconds. So I'm going to grab on that, and I'm going to look at my time and break that down. Oh, it just jumped on me there. So I'm at 29:12, good enough. Doesn't have to be exact. What you'll notice is when you make those edits on each of those video clips, those handles disappear. And that's a good thing. Okay, so we've just done that. We're going to expand the timeline out. We are going to, let's see, we're going to create handles at the end of the second clip, beginning of the third. We're going to cut those by 20 seconds each. So we're going to slide in on the second one by 20 seconds. I can actually make these short clips. 2013 is good. and we're going to slide out on the third clip at about 2019. Okay, so I've shortened all three of those video clips. And we're ready to start putting some transitions in. So we're going to put the timeline on the in between the first and second clip. And if you remember from the previous section, if I use my page up and page down, I can use the CTI. If I go page down, it'll push my CTI to the edits. If I go page up, it'll push it to the left. So I just use my page up and page down. I place my CTI right in between the first and second clip, and I'm ready to go. The effects panel should be up here. Let me see if I can just move my tools over here just for now. I don't think I'll need them. I'll leave them up just in case. You've got effects controls here, which kind of is some interesting pieces here. We haven't even got to these pieces just yet. But if you go up to the project panel, you'll notice the effects panel is hitting behind it. So if I click on the effects panel, here's where all my transitions are. And what you're going to find out really is transitions are very easy to work with. They're very drag and drop. And again, I can't stress enough that if you didn't watch the intro video, make sure you watch the intro video. Once you realize how easy it is to put transitions in between videos, your natural reaction is going to be, oh my, well, we might as well just stick transitions in between each one and put a different transition in between each one, and your viewer is going to look at you with like you got three eyes, because it gets nuts if you start putting in too many transitions. So I'm going to head over to the video transition section, and you'll notice there are a bunch of them. Each of these are folders. Within each folder is a definite transition that you're looking for. Okay, so I'll try to do a good job in telling you which ones we're going to place here for this effect. But in your lab, you're going to be able to decide what kind of transitions you want to use. So there are some really cool ones in here. Let's see. We are going to need to put effects panel. Let's go to the dissolve bin. And it looks like we're going to pull a cross dissolve in. So I've got this cross dissolve. You'll notice the pink around the actual icon of the cross dissolve. That I'll get back to that for a second in a second. But that basically means that the cross dissolve is the default transition, which has some effects on automating the sequence and so on and so forth. But don't worry about it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag the cross dissolve. I'm going to grab on the icon and I'm going to drag it over the first two clips. Actually, you know what? I'm going to back up. Let me magnify that even more and make it nice and big. CTI is in between two clips. Just magnified. And as I drag over the two clips, you'll notice I have one of three places I can put this. I can put it just to the left of the CTI. I can put it all the way to the right of the CTI, and then I can cross it over both of the video clips. And this is where you kind of want to be. If I go just to the left of the CTI, I'm putting that dissolve just on the end of the first clip. Obviously, this would be just on the beginning of the second clip. But I like that right in the middle, and I go ahead and let go. Let me magnify this even more. You'll see. You'll notice there's a little purple border that shows up over both video clips. And this is the cross dissolve transition. So we put that transition there. And let's see what that looks like. So I'm going to go a little bit here to the left. I'm going to hit the space bar on my keyboard to play. And you see that little dissolve from one piece to the next. Now you'll notice it's a quick transition. It's about a second total. If I go in between the second and the third, let me minimize this again. I go in between the second and the third, you'll notice it's a cuts only still. Yeah, so it's a rough cut. So we'll have to put a transition in there too. But before I get over to the second and the third, I did want to point out in between the first and the second, after we put in the cross dissolve, you'll notice there's a red bar right there, which appears over the transition piece within Premiere. Older versions of Premiere would not allow me to play this in its entire. I can actually see the dissolve here. So as Premiere gets better with time, the idea is that as a user, I used to have to render this, okay, which is what that red timeline is that's showing over here. So it's basically saying Premiere is telling me I've got to do something to this video before you export it out to video. I can give it to you looking like this in the program window, and I can make it work. But before we actually kick it out to the final movie piece, I've got some work I got to do. And that's what the red bar is you'll see there. Okay, you'll notice the transition itself is roughly about 1 second. Maybe you can tell that, maybe you can't, but that is the default transition time. So we'll go ahead and we're going to actually place another transition at the first beginning of the clip. Now, notice the first transition we put in was in between two clips. This one I want to show you, you can also put transitions at the very beginning of a clip. So that's a single-sided transition that I'm about to show you. So let's go into 3D motion. And let's see which one they want. They want the 3D motion flip over. So I'm going to grab the flip over clip and I'm going to push that right up over the first part of the beginning of the video. You'll notice the rendering red comes over. I'm going to hit the home key, move the CTI back. It's not moving. So we'll move the CTI back to the beginning. I just manually did that. And I'm going to hit the space bar, and you're going to see how this thing starts. See how it flips from black to the beginning of the video clip. Probably, if I was really looking at a professional piece there, I would have cut out that the director's card. But now the home key is working for me, so I'm good. I hit home, hit space, and you see that flip over. So there's another transition, and again, that's called a single-sided transition because I'm only doing it on one end of a video. So perfect. We've got our flip overs. Let's go to okay, wait a minute. They're putting another flip transition. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to place another flip over transition. Let me minimize this. I'm going to place another flip over transition at the very end of the movie. So I'm going to drag that down. And just because I'm so magnet or zoomed right out, I'm going to zoom in and make sure I've got that transition at the end. So, okay, so there's my other flip over transition. So you'll notice at the beginning of the movie, and I will zoom back in. The beginning of the movie, it goes one way. It goes from right to left.
206, take 2.
Okay, so if I slide over to the end of the movie, and I'm going to show you the effects panel at this point in time. So I go over to the transition itself, and I click on the transition itself. That will change the effect controls panel right here. Let me kind of make this a little bit bigger so you can see. And we'll get more into this as time moves on. But there is one actual piece I want you to see. Every one of these transitions has the effect controls that you can change. So here's the duration over here. You can actually change the length of the flip over. But just for the example for right now, what I want you to do is click on the reverse. And what that is going to do, if I hit the space bar, it's going to reverse the way it flips. So the beginning flipped from right to left, and this one's flipping from left to right. So I guess the point I'm trying to make there is every transition that you have in here is going to have certain controls that you can change on the effect controls panel. Some effects have a ton of controls that you can change. Others just have a duration piece or some other piece like that. So we went ahead and did the flip, and we did the reverse. We are going to change one quick thing, and one thing I want to show you real quick is how transitions work when it comes to changing things out. Let me expand this. Let's go in between the first and second, and you've got the transition there. Is that the first and second? Yep. So there's my first and second. I'm going to zoom in on that to show the transition. Oh, I shrunk this menu. Going to pull this palette back up. There's my cross dissolve. Let's say I didn't want a cross dissolve. Let's say I wanted a cross zoom. So I want to change out that cross dissolve with a cross zoom. So I'm going to go in the zoom bin, click down 3D motion. There's a zoom bin. There's a cross zoom. Watch what happens. I'm just going to pull the transition up over the cross dissolve. You'll see the timeline darken in, and I let go, and now that cross zoom just replaces that cross dissolve. Yeah, it's kind of a bad edit to see, but it actually is a cross zoom now at this point. Let me play it again, and you'll see. Yeah, you see it kind of zoom out as it dissolves through. So anytime you want to change a transition, you can just go ahead and lay one over another one, and it'll adjust. Maybe I don't want, on this cross zoom, maybe I don't want it to be just 1 second. If I click on the cross zoom, you'll have the pieces up here, and you've got the duration up here. If I click on this duration and I just start dragging to the right, you'll notice it'll increase in size. So that would be 6 seconds, way too big of a transition. Maybe I just want to make it 2. I can also type in there and just go 200. Let me turn on my numlock here. No, we don't want that. So we wipe that completely out. So 2 seconds would be 2 seconds, 00, which would be the frames, which would give me a 2-second transition. So you can see that the transition now is a little bit bigger. Most default transitions will be about a second, and you can change that at any point in time if you'd like. If you want a different default, I'll get more into default transitions a little bit later when we start talking about automating to sequence and those kinds of things. But good place to stop right here. We kind of good introduction to transitions, and we'll continue on with editing some of these effect controls as we move forward.